Hey guys, this is a Bybit liquidity mining tutorial. I'm going to go over exactly what liquidity mining is and show you a live account right here that has some investments that are earning some yield right now. So in this video, I'm going to go over what exactly liquidity mining is under the surface, like what's actually happening there, how that generates yield, and then going through Bybit specifically on how to actually add liquidity into pools and then withdraw that liquidity if you want as well. So timestamps for all of that down in the description. If you want to sign up for Bybit as well, I'll leave the link down there. They give deposit bonuses when you deposit crypto and fiat on the platform. So I'll leave all that information in the description. The first thing though we need to go over is what exactly is liquidity mining, and how is it generating the yields that they say you can get right here. So if you go up to the earn section and then go to liquidity mining, it brings you over to this page and you can see that there are some yields that you can get. So if you scroll down, Bitcoin, ETH, a lot of other L1 tokens, most of the biggest tokens, you can see an APY right here. How are they actually generating this APY? What's going on like under the surface to actually do this? Very quickly, liquidity mining is something that happens when you use an AMM, which is an automated market maker. If you want to know way more about these, I have videos going through liquidity pools and decentralized finance market makers, so you can learn way more under the surface. But I'm going to show you exactly how they work and how these yields are generated on Bybit liquidity mining. So for example, something like Uniswap is an automated market maker, meaning that it gives prices for crypto assets, for example, US dollar coin and Ethereum. Now, if people trade, so if traders come in and trade these, then they pay fees, of course. They pay trading fees. And with DeFi or these automated market makers, you or me can actually add our tokens in. For example, if we have ETH and USDC, we can add these tokens into the pool for the market maker to use as liquidity. Now, when traders trade, they pay trading fees, and the majority of those trading fees, instead of going to the exchange, actually come back to us as liquidity providers. So what will happen right here is that if a buyer comes in, he'll put some USDC into the pool, and then the automated market maker will give him some ETH back and charge a trading fee, which comes back to us. This is how Uniswap does it. This is how Bybit's liquidity pools work as well. So this isn't Uniswap, it's their own automated market maker that does this, but it works in the same way. So what we're doing is putting our assets onto the automated market maker and basically earning trading fees from those traders. And you can see that they will change per asset and pair, but you can see the APY when you're actually using the platform. All of the yields that you'll see in this video may change by the time you're watching it or you potentially use this because yields are dependent on trading volumes. And so the more trading volume that is going through the AMM, the more that they're going to be paying out essentially. So what you can see here is very quickly each of the trading pairs. So we've got Bitcoin, ETH, BIT, which is Bybit's token, I believe, or one of their tokens, AVAX, Doge, and as you can see here on the right-hand side, you see the liquidity and the APY. So the liquidity is the amount of value of the coins in the pair. So this is Bitcoin against US dollar Tether, $1 million in here. The APY is 5 to 15%. This is the average of the APYs in the past 3 days. The higher the leverage, the higher the APY you're entitled to. We'll go through leverage in a second and if you want to use it. But you can quickly search for them and then see the APY of each. Now, trading pairs that have very high APYs mean that they've had a lot of volume over the last few days, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be paying that reward like as a fixed reward for the long term. So really what you want to do is choose a pair where you know they're going to have good trading volume. And there's some other things that we need to think about before choosing a pair as well. If you found a pair that you want to add value to, there's a few different ways you can do this. You can either add one of the assets or both of the assets, which I'll show you now. So for example, if I'm going to put some value into the Bitcoin USDT pool, and I want to earn some trading fees from that, I'm going to be earning roughly 5 to 15%, but it may be lower, maybe higher sometimes, depending on volumes. I'm going to want to add. So I'm going to go to add right here. Then I'm going to need some assets in my earn account. So I'm going to go over to my main page, click on earn, and then I can transfer some assets in. So I'm going to click on transfer in the right hand side, then transfer in some assets either from my spot account or my derivatives, wherever you have the Bitcoin or the US dollar Tether, just transfer that into your earn account, and then you can go ahead and invest it here. Now, because we're using an automated market maker here, we need to put both assets into the pool. An AMM, you need both assets, right? So you can't just put one in. you need to have both in the ratio that they are in the pool, because there's a quote between them, right? One BTC right now is about 20,000 US dollars. So if you wanted to put one BTC in, you'd need to match it with 20K US dollar tether. But it's just a ratio. So what I'm going to do here is just go add USDT and then click max. You can see I've got $400 in here. Now what this system is going to do is basically work out what the correct ratio is for me, and then I can just press add liquidity and it works out. Now with an AMM, what you really have is just a percentage of the pool. So if the pool's $1 million, you know, you can put an amount in and you might have 1% of the pool. Now the reason why you'd have like 1 or 2% of the pool is there's an amount of trading fees that the pool makes each day, and if you own 2% of the pool, then you get 2% of the, you know, whatever the trading fees it earned that day is. So you don't have to use both. You can just put add USDT, it's going to work out the ratio. You can put add Bitcoin, it's going to work out the ratio, or you can put both in and actually choose an amount. There's no real reason to do this because, you know, it's going to work out anyway. But if you had like a bit of US dollar tether and a bit of Bitcoin, you could kind of put the value of them in and it's going to work out like how much it should trade to make sure that your ratio is the correct ratio for the pool. Just a note on leverage here as well. Bybit allow you to use leverage in these pools. I personally wouldn't do this, but it is an option there. If you leverage up and you actually leverage up your position, then you're going to be borrowing some money essentially from Bybit to increase your size and position in the pool. Your estimated APY does go up. You can see it jumps here to 9.7%. which is fine. However, there's a liquidation price now, as you can see. So if I use no leverage, liquidation price goes because cash settled. If you're using leverage, as you can see, you have a liquidation price. If you use 3x leverage, liquidation price is $10,000. So, you know, I personally wouldn't use this. Whenever you use leverage, you're going to be increasing risk of loss as well. But it is an option if you want to use it. Just know that the APY goes up, but it will increase the volatility of the portfolio as well. So that's what leverage does. And it may also increase your impermanent loss, which is something you must know when using liquidity pools. Before I get into explaining impermanent loss, because you must understand that before using them, I'm going to look at claiming your yield and your rewards with Bybit as well. So if you've added assets into the pool and you've got a position, we're going to go over to My Liquidity and you can see all of your positions here. So you can see them up here as well and how much they're yielding. So Bitcoin position yielding $30 from those trading fees. My Liquidity down here, everything is given to you, you know, as a portfolio, and then you can see some assets that I've just gone in for this video that you can kind of see how they work, right? So got some principal in here, you've got an APY going, the amount of liquidity and yield that you're earning right here. You can also see liquidation price of all your positions if you are using leverage, but you can also see unclaimed yield. So this is something that's really great for liquidity mining, especially on Bybit, is that you can claim yield out of the pair. So this is something that becomes quite difficult on DeFi, especially on Ethereum, because the gas fees are so expensive. But right here, because this is Bybit's AMM, what you can do is withdraw your yield only. You can actually reinvest the yield if you want as well by claiming it and then just going to add more liquidity. But what we're going to do here is just claim. And it says, congrats, you'll receive this $3, right? So what this is essentially taking those trading fees out of the pool, keeping my assets in there, but then letting me claim the trading fees and yield out. And there's no gas fees as well. So that's obviously, you know, an advantage of doing it on Bybit. So you can claim that very easily and then move it back in to compound your position, or simply just take that yield out. Now I have to touch on impermanent loss, which is something that automated market makers have. This is just part of the algorithm that they use for trading, and it's important to understand what impermanent loss is and how it affects the profit and loss of your portfolio. Like I said, much more in-depth videos about this. I've got some videos below that go through it really in depth. I'll go over this in the crypto course as well, and kind of the ramifications of doing this. But essentially, impermanent loss is something that happens with AMMs when the price changes between the pair. So if I've added Bitcoin and US dollar tether into a liquidity pair, the ratio between them when I add them is a certain ratio. And if the price changes, then the ratio between those two coins changes. Now that's not inherently a bad thing, but with an AMM, what this means is that if the price changes a lot, you're going to suffer something called impermanent loss. So as you can see here at 100%, if the price doesn't change at all and it just stays exactly as it is, there is no impermanent loss and you can take your assets out and that's fine. if the price changes significantly from when you put them in, so that the ratio changes, what you can see here is that you start getting a potential loss. Now, this isn't a loss. That's why it's called impermanent loss. It's only a loss if you take the pair of assets out of the pool. So if you leave them in there, you're not losing anything. They're just in there. But if you take them out of the pool, you kind of solidify this loss. Now, this is a loss versus just holding the pair without putting them in the pool. So if you'd have just held the pair, for example, Bitcoin US dollar tether, and let's say Bitcoin goes up 100%, then obviously that's a good thing for you. And if you'd have put them in the pool, then you would have actually lost a little bit of money versus just holding them and not putting them in the pool. So the downside is you don't get trading fees that way. So when you look at the total return, what you have to do is look at trading fees that you earn, which on Bybit right now, I think are around 5 to 15% for Bitcoin US dollar tether. So they're really good, right? But you have to minus potential impermanent loss. So if Bitcoin suddenly goes up 100%, or is extremely volatile, there may be some of this impermanent loss that happens, but you don't have to take the coins out of the pool. So you have to take trading fees and the impermanent loss, and that is your actual profit. Now, if you want to work out impermanent loss, there's many calculators out there. You can go to impermanent loss calculator. I've got, just an example here of Bitcoin at 20K. If it goes up to 40K, you can see the impermanent loss is 5%. So if the price of Bitcoin doubles from here, I only lose 5% in impermanent loss. And the amount of trading fees that I'm earning could potentially very easily make up for that, depending on how long you have them in the pool and what the trading fees are over time. So, depending on what pair that you're using, it's going to be a little bit different. Impermanent loss is much less in assets that don't move a lot. So when you're using a stable coin, that's probably good because that's not going to move at all. If you're using smaller trading pairs that that move way more, you could potentially suffer more impermanent loss. If you just have a little bit of Bitcoin and US dollar tether that you want to earn yield from over the long term, then you never have to withdraw and you might just claim those yields over the long term, but everyone's different with how they want to use that. I'll leave the link to Bybit below. You can see what deposit bonuses they have at the current time if you want to use that. I'm James with MoneyZG. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.